Hey guys, it's M.A.D.D.Y. I don't know, but I am so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me today. First, it's my other part of the cosplay that Olivia thinks I desperately need and waiting for that. And then it's me not only like putting up my reaction. Oh wait, sorry. We're gonna get to that later. Not only it was like I don't know what's wrong with me. I really don't know what's wrong with me. I forgot that today was also Go My Favorite Sports Team Day. How could I forget that? I'm such an idiot. I'm not a good listener to anything. I'm just terrible. I'm bad. Okay, so let's not daddle. Okay, we're here. We got it. Okay, it's nighttime, and we usually do it during the day, but at least we're here, and at least it's still Thursday. So this might not be published today, but hey, at least I recorded it today, so Alright, so this episode is called Tyler's Sports Life, Part 1. So there's going to be a Part 2. Unlike some things. And you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so we learned about Mark's backstory, and now we're going to learn about Tyler's. So let's see what Tyler has to say about his backstory.
Hello, and welcome to
Go, my favorite sports team.
If this is your first time listening to this podcast, welcome to the #1 sports podcast in America. Soon. Also, where have you been? This is like episode number. Insert episode number.
24.
People join, throughout the year. People find it, and when they find it, they go to the newest one. This week's people are special people. You're right. Welcome, one and all. Thank you for choosing to give us a try. I hope you enjoy. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll take it from here, big guy. Hang on. Let me take care of it. My name is Mark. I am not a sports expert. So if you're joining this and assuming that there is a sports expert that is going to be talking to you first, you're wrong. It's the person talking to you second. Tyler here is an expert in sports with the master's degree to prove it.
Yes, I have a master's degree in sport administration, and I have been an athlete my entire life. I've studied sport.
Stop right there! I've watched your entire life. You've been saying that since the very beginning of this podcast, and today we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Oh,
your life. That's what this episode is all about. If you are listening and you doubted all of that expert knowledge, I'm doing air quotes right now, then today is the day where you get to trace the lineage of that knowledge from the moment that you were just a sperm and an egg fused into one. Sports was infused into your DNA from that moment. I think you were at some football game or something, and like the cheer of the crowd echoed into your very being, and that's when it started, right? Something like that.
I'd have to ask my dad when that happened.
Dad, was there a football game on when you blew the load that made me? I just want to know, Dad. I'm just curious. 9 months or so before my birthday, was there a big sporting event that was going on? Was there anything happening special that day? No, but we're going to go back to your origins, your youth time in sports, stuff like that. We did an episode based on my history of sports, which is not that prolific. It was actually quite sparse, to be perfectly honest. And it's going to be interesting because you are not in the driver's seat. Are you in the driver's seat? Are you in the driver's seat for your own life?
I think you need to be in the driver's seat.
I need to be in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a 9-chapter saga.
I mean,
Not this 3-act structure. Nah, we need more acts, more structure in here. So I'm gonna kind of like be the driver of this episode. Everyone hold on to your butts. It's gonna be fine. I've done this before. I know what I'm doing.
Sure, you
I mean,
do.
you love the Creative Clash episode.
I did, yeah, but that was just me talking about bullshit that I knew about, but I don't know. Well, I mean, I know a general understanding, but I actually don't know the depths of it. But before I can do any of that, I need to be possessed by a ghost.
Oh no. The audience is coming for me again, aren't they?
Yeah. Tyler, you've been a bad boy. I don't know. Anyway, so I've got you the latest, spiciest takes from the Go My Favorite Sports Team subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/GMFST, unless there's another subreddit that I don't know about. That's the one that I pull from, and that's the one that I interact with. But the first of many, 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 many hot takes this week is this. Tyler, you bastard. WTF, says Adzang. Tyler, what do you mean you gotta educate yourself? Was college not good enough? How dare you not know about all the sports in the world? Do you not have a master's degree in sport? You are supposed to be the sports knower, for God's sake. And Mark, I see you. Why are you not busting his balls about this? I thought you were the ball buster. I have been tricked, backstabbed, and quite possibly bamboozled. Explain, please.
Okay, let's start with how many sports that are known to exist in the entire world.
Okay.
According to the World Sports Encyclopedia, there are over 8,000 indigenous sports and sporting games around the globe.
That's a lot.
How many are on TV? 50? You know, you expect me, with all the other knowledge I have to know with math and science and understanding anatomy and physiology and being able to do laundry and clean my bathroom and being able to breathe and talk, that I would have time for 8,000 sports rules.
I feel like you might. I feel like you should. I feel like you could. And you could...
You know what? Maybe I need a performance-enhancing drug invented of knowledge where they just inject the rules of every single sport ever to exist and to eventually exist in the future into my noggin.
I feel like this should be a goal for you. Not to have all the rules. Okay, so let's not say that you do primer level, because I think this is in response to the soccer primer not existing.
Right.
And that you have to look up the rules and stuff. I think you could definitely have a basic understanding of like all 8,000 sports. That would be a cool thing, and then you could just plop them up from memory.
I mean, I literally, this past week, I was talking to somebody who played cricket, and I was talking to them about cricket, and he was actually very impressed with how much I already knew from reading stuff up.
Who? Name names.
The Andy. His name's Andy.
Andy?
I can't remember.
We're
his last
calling
name.
you out, Andy. Sandberg?
No, it's not Andy.
I don't know any other Andys.
Well, this Andy had played cricket. He's from the UK. He happened to be in the States, and I talked to him for a little bit, and he was impressed with my knowledge. And I could do a soccer primer right now. I could do...
You could?
Yes.
Good?
Right now?
Right
Yes,
now.
I could. If it was absolutely necessary, I could.
Okay.
Okay.
But I would run into the same issue I had with the hockey episode, right? People got angry with me because that hockey episode wasn't enough. It wasn't what the hockey people wanted. So I want to make sure that I don't do that again.
Speaking of angry about the hockey primer, Tyler, you bet I'm salty, says Captain Pixie Hollow. You went to one of the playoff games? Are you kidding me? Because if you don't know, Tyler was just at the playoff game for the hockey
I was at
thing.
the Stanley Cup. That's the
You
official
at the
championship
Stanley
series.
Cup. This so-called master's degree owning person, Captain Pixie Hollow, continues. There I was, baking maple cookies because tomorrow is Canada Day, thinking I don't really mind that they don't know hockey. It's not all that surprising. I still don't know much about American football. We all have our strengths. I thought I was finally at peace as a dead Canadian no longer rolling in her grave at their minimal hockey knowledge. However, there he was at the Stanley Cup. Unbelievable! Sincerely, a salty, not at all jealous Canadian who is apparently still rolling in her grave. I think this might be a ghost.
Yeah, I mean, the ghost of the ghost is infiltrating your body.
Yeah, and reading into that, I'm pretty sure like they're rolling in her grave right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, in all fairness, I was at the Stanley Cup and I did learn more about hockey. I made sure that I did. A lot of it really just came back to me from when I watched hockey when I was younger. But I fully understood icing more. I understood penalty box times and how that works. There was actually a 4-on-4 incident where both teams were a man down competing during one of the games, and it was really cool. So
you should probably like it would be super cool if you wanted to do more like fun research. You could do a solo stream where it's like Tyler's research time about a certain sport, and then you could get people in your chat that actually like really know that sport, and you can ask things. And then
maybe I'm waiting till the GMFST YouTube channel launches so then I can go live on the GMFST YouTube channel with that particular type of content.
That would be very nice. That would be really cool. When is it going live?
As soon as I get that video.
Got it.
Yeah, Mark, where's that Discord? Huh?
Yeah, Mark.
The spirits invading mine. Mark, you said that the Discord would be ready the same day during this last podcast episode that came out. Where is it?
What if it is and it's just an Easter egg hunt and you got to find it?
Then you hate your fans.
Rendered you speechless. No, they love a puzzle. All right. So there's a few more that are like, where's this? Says, where's the water polo primer? Says one fish in the sea. It might be a fish.
All right.
We've heard Tyler talk about his time playing. I've played myself, and I know how fun and brutal a sport it can be. It's incredibly underrated. We need a primer. It's time.
Do you want me to reveal some secrets?
Yes.
Ooh,
This is why
secrets.
I'm holding back from the water polo.
Why are you getting so simple?
Because the person that I'm waiting for the water polo primer is one of the greatest water polo players in the United States history.
Ooh.
That is interested in potentially maybe coming on for part of the podcast. And I might be waiting when they're there to have
You heard it
the
here
primer.
first. Tom Brady himself, also very not well known, world-renowned water polo expert. He actually has only been playing for 1 week in retirement or semi-retirement from football. But as soon as he got in the pool, it was a ball. He knew what to do with it. He was like a sea otter in the water with that ball. Incredible. He's coming on the podcast.
You know what? I will issue an official challenge
To Tom Brady.
to Tom Brady.
To a water
To Tom Brady.
One-on-one. Tom Brady, me, you, water polo, same goalie, same competition.
Yeah.
You're going down.
We all know that Tom Brady listens to this podcast.
And
We all know that.
That's why he unretired, don't you know?
That is true.
Sure.
So, Tom, I challenge you to a match of water polo.
That is a good challenge. That is an incredible
That's
challenge,
a
actually.
terrible
All right,
challenge.
Tyler, from
Tyler.
Indecidian Tyler. Aren't there some sports where the athletes aren't allowed to have sex? If so, which ones and why not?
I mean, that's more so with regards to the training. It has nothing to do with like you're absolutely required to not have sex. But there is a reasoning for why athletes don't have sex before major competitions. And a lot of times it has to do with the fact that you are actually fatiguing your body. Sex is a very physically intensive act. Or it can be, depending on if you just want to lay there or not. But regardless, it saps energy from your muscles. You use your muscles and you do get fatigued.
Okay.
So if you ever have sex, you are fatigued afterwards. You just don't necessarily realize
Are
it.
you saying that there's some elements of this? Have you ever gone? I shouldn't even be talking about it because it's so weird. Like the semen retention subreddit.
I have not gone down this rabbit hole.
Don't go there unless you just like. It's such a strange concept that the more cum you keep in your body, the more power in it. Your third eye opens and you feel your whole soul vibrating. It's a little bit of an odd belief, but I don't know about that because obviously for women and anyone else who don't produce semen, do they get any benefits from staining? Is that the word? Well, that's not the word.
With staining?
Withholding?
No.
Withholding?
Staining. Abstaining.
Abstaining.
From sex.
I would have to look into the science of it, but I do know that like for at least the male anatomy, the male sexual organs in regards to the production of sperm requires energy because like the whole function of semen and sperm is they have a lot of energy sources so that they can swim and go really far to get to the egg. So your body, in creating sperm and semen, takes energy from what you eat and what you intake to create that. So if you withhold and don't have to create a whole bunch of new sperm, you're probably saving yourself a little bit. But the only problem with that is your body is forever always creating that.
I'm grossed out by
Right.
this. We'll cut out this whole one. It's terrible. It's awful. It's awful. Unless not, I'll leave it up to you. All right, I'm letting the ghosts... I'm not retaining these ghosts anymore. Get out of my soul.
This episode of Go is sponsored by Mint Mobile. Big wireless is in your house. Big wireless is in your bathroom. Big wireless is under your bed as you sleep at night, trying to steal more money by adding more charges to your plans.
But what other options do I have?
It's too late. Big wireless is standing outside of your window looking at you.
Oh, sorry.
Excuse
I
me?
don't know why that went there.
Anyway,
Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month. I thought to myself, what's the catch?
But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense.
the call's coming from inside the house. Your house, where you're saving money with your phone.
Is it coming from the secret sauce?
What?
Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. That means they don't have to pay for retail stores. They don't have to pay for all those big buildings and rent. And it comes with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network.
To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/go. That's mintmobile.com/GO.
Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/go.
They're in your house. The door is open. Big wireless is coming for you. They're getting closer. Don't turn around. That's what they hate. They hate if you turn around, but they hate if you don't look at them. Pay them more money now.
Ah, my wallet.
Or go to mintmobile.com/go. All right, so now that the ghosts are gone and we're here ready to focus, it's time to get into the nitty-gritty of your life.
Oh, God.
Why? You embarrassed?
No, I'm not embarrassed. I don't know if you realize this. While a lot of people, it's easy to talk about yourself. I hate talking about myself when somebody
too.
else wants me to talk about myself, and it's really weird.
Well, I'll have questions for you. I have good questions. Don't worry.
All
I've
right.
prepared for this. I know exactly how to guide you through so that you can get all of the good juices of your childhood, scoop them out of your brain, and plop them in front so everyone can dissect it and analyze it. Aren't you excited about that? For people to psychoanalyze your history?
Oh, absolutely. I wonder how much trauma they're going to say I had.
Oh, we're going to find out. All right, chapter 0. 3 title times. PTT. Because everyone knows that your upbringing is an influence on who you will be as a person. All this nature versus nurture stuff, it's a little bit of both, always. So I want to trace back to your parents. Were they involved with sports? Were
Yes.
they really big sports people watching it and doing sports themselves?
Yeah, my dad and his brothers grew up, they played a lot of baseball. He wanted to play American football, but his mother wouldn't actually let him, despite his brother Tom and brother Steve both playing football into college. My uncle actually went to the University of Penn, University of Pennsylvania, so Ivy League school, and played football. And honestly, if he hadn't gotten a major knee injury where he tore up his knee, with today's technology, that's not a big deal. Back then, he no longer was able to continue on and play in the NFL.
Yeah, in the French countryside, they didn't have many doctors or skilled surgeons that could just rapidly repair things.
This isn't the U.S., Mark.
Your parents are from France.
I'm not French.
You're French. You have a
No.
winery in France.
No, I don't. It's in California, and it's not even mine.
Okay, all right. Can I get some spicy hot takes about how
No.
Tyler is actually French?
No. And my mom ran. I don't know if I've ever talked about this. My mom grew up relatively not well off, like pretty poor. She traveled around a lot, never really stayed at the same school because my grandparents, her mom was a teacher, but she quit her job and followed around my grandfather, who was a minister, pastor. I don't know what to call him. He was like non-denominational.
Yeah, some head of church or something.
Yeah. And they went around to a bunch of reservations, a bunch of different places, constantly moving. And he was very progressive. So a lot of times the churches ended up not liking him because he was for things that the church necessarily might have been against, and would speak out about like civil rights and stuff like that. Both my grandparents on my mom's side also were in the Peace Corps. I have coins from Nicaragua before the Nicaraguan Revolution.
Wow.
Like, I have some pretty cool stuff from that front. So like, she traveled a lot. And
Who were the Nicaraguans revolutionizing against? Was it the French?
no,
It might have been.
I don't know.
It might have been.
No clue.
No,
But
Continue.
so my mom, like, she grew up on a lot of like Indian reservations and stuff like that. So like North Dakota, South Dakota, California, like
Native American reservations.
correct.
That's crazy how that's so instilled in our brains. Like, even it's so recent.
Yeah.
That the nomenclature has actually, I mean, it's always been that, but it's just like the actual correct nomenclature, because it's always like in our childhood, like that's what it is. But it's like when you really think about it, India,
Yeah.
like, it's just like the country of India and the Native Americans who are from America, and calling them in, it's just like the strangest
I
thing
know, it
when
makes
you really
no
think
sense.
about it. Yeah.
And I didn't even realize I said it until after you like said that.
I catch myself all the time.
Yeah.
It's just strange.
So like, she grew up around horses and riding horseback and doing a lot of stuff like that, to where she was active constantly. And so like, she ran track, and that's the only real sport that I can think of that she told me about. Like, she played softball. My aunt Carolyn, my mom's sister, was really good at softball. And so like, both my parents were very athletic growing up.
Okay.
And you know, my dad played basketball. He said he could dunk when he was in high school.
Damn.
And so he's the same height as me.
Mhm.
He's actually shorter. He's 6 foot. I'm 6'1".
Oh, call it.
But- No, but they were both very athletic. My dad actually did marching band. He played clarinet.
Okay.
I still have his clarinet, I think, back in so like, both my parents were very athletic.
Okay, cool. Chapter 1. Popped out the womb ballin'. I want to know, because you've probably seen videos of kids playing with like their first toy, which is usually a plastic version of an actual sports tool, right? Like the big plastic hollow bat or the golf club. But have you ever seen the video of the kid that was golfing? Like, he's only 3 or 4 now, or maybe 5 or something like that. It was a series of videos that was showing like this kid as a toddler had a golf club, and he would hit a ball and it was terrible. But then fast forward a few months and his form is getting better. And then 6 months, the form is actually looking pretty good for a 2-year-old. But you compare it to like a real golfer, and it's like the form looks pretty close to what that golfer's doing. I don't know what good form is. But then 2 years, and this kid is nailing these tiny plastic balls. And then like by 3rd birthday or something like that, dad gets a real golf club and then takes him to a real driving range. And it's like this child has fallen in love with the game of golf so early, and then in 20 years or so, you're going to hear about this kid, unless he hates golf, which happens all the time, doing something else in life. And it's just, I want to know what your first toy, even if you don't remember it, if you saw a picture of you as a baby or something, like first toy that was sport related.
I have a story. First of all, I also forgot to mention my dad golfed before I was born and won some pretty big golf tournaments. Like, the biggest trophy me and my brother, we talked about on the podcast before, my brother and I would fight over was my dad's giant golf trophy.
Wow.
So the first toy that I can remember that my dad told me about was when I was like 2, and it was a golf club, but it was a right-handed golf club. And I was swinging it backwards because I went lefty. And he was in awe at the fact that not only was I hitting the ball consistently, but it went straight when I was swinging the golf club backwards.
Wow.
Like, just across the yard. And my dad talks about it pretty frequently when I talk to him about sports or something like that. He's like, I still remember when you were real little and you would swing that golf club, right-handed golf club, backwards. That yellow-headed blue stick, iron of some kind.
Like
design.
you'd find at a putt-putt course, you know?
No,
Something like
it's
that.
not flat on both sides.
Oh, okay.
It's rounded. It's like an iron. So I'm swinging the rounded edge into the ball, and the ball's going straight.
Wow.
So I'm like hitting it just at the exact perfect point to where it's like not going to go way this way or way that way.
That sounds really impressive.
But even before that, I think before I started playing with a toy like that, I climbed trees. Because I had my older brother who is 2 years older.
That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. That is not what I... Trees are not toys. You can play on trees, but they're not toys. I'm talking like early 90s, plastic, lead paint, When did Lead Paint get banned? I think before.
I don't know.
I hope. God, I hope. I hope.
I mean, asbestos was at our where we went to middle school, Mark.
Was there?
Yeah.
Oh no.
That's why they shut it down.
That might explain my tumor. Anyway, who knows? Can't correlate. That whole thing got torn down, so it's gone now, and the asbestos has floated into the nearby neighborhoods. God. Anyway, chapter 2. Crawl before you can walk. What was the first sport, either team or like individual one, that you personally have a memory of seeing and liking? I'm not talking whether you did it or not, because that's a whole other story. This is the formative moment in your mind as a young human. And you know, the first memory that you have is kind of important for people. It's not really something that important. Mine is getting my hand rolled up in a window when I was in the backseat of the car. And, you know, my mom rolled up the window in front. I remember going, ow, and I don't remember anything before or after that. That is my first memory that I can recall. What is your first sport memory of something that was formative? You saw and you're like, oh wow, or like it was some weird ad or something that you saw or a toy. Like, what is the first sport formative memory that you have?
That's so hard for me because a lot of my memories going that far back aren't necessarily chronological.
Yeah.
I can't put them in order. But like, I can think back to when I first played baseball. I can think back to wrestling with my dad and my brother. I can think back to probably the earliest that I can remember is watching football on TV, American football. It was the Atlanta Falcons playing somebody, and I don't remember who it was.
The fact that you can remember the Atlanta Falcons is pretty
I
impressive.
want to say it was the Minnesota Vikings, but I'm not certain. More than likely it was the Bengals. But I remember my brother was rooting. I was rooting for the Falcons for whatever reason. My brother was like, I'm going to root for the other team.
Okay.
Just to be competitive.
Right, sure.
But I remember sitting on the floor in front of the TV and watching American football. And that's probably the earliest sport memory that I can think of because I was real little.
That's good.
Yeah, this was before organized sports.
Now we need to look up, how old were you then?
I remember preschool memories, so it was probably around then. It was like I was 3.
Okay, so 3, so it would have been like 92. I need someone who's listening to this with way too much time to look up who the Atlanta Falcons played like in that time, in that year, so we can narrow down to what game it was and then find out if they won or lost. Oh, Tyler's doing, he has way too much time on his hands.
Atlanta Falcons 1992 schedule. They did not play the Vikings. I remember it now. It was November 9th when they were playing the 49ers because I grew up being a major 49ers fan. So my brother rooted for the Falcons. And I was actually rooting for the Niners because Steve Young and Jerry Rice were 2 people that I wrote multiple book reports on in elementary school.
Whoa. Who won?
49ers.
And that's who you were rooting for?
Yep.
Hell yeah. So Tyler's first sport formative memory was being a winner. All you people psychoanalyzing at home, that's something really to chew on. All right, chapter 3. Dun, 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 dun. The game is on. Your first sport day. You physically participated in.
Soccer team called the Barney Busters when I was 5.
Then why hasn't there been a soccer primer yet?
Because I hated soccer.
Oh, no.
I hated soccer with a passion as a kid.
Oh, wow.
Because after every game, and this is stupid, I was itchy.
You were
I
itchy?
hated being itchy, wearing the shin guards and the grass, and I also was not allowed to play offense. They always made me play defense, and so the ball would come at me, and I'd just run up and kick it really hard, and then I'd sit down.
Which is why you were itchy, because you were sitting down in the grass.
But we were forced to wear purple, which is why all of us on the team, I grew up with these guys. Michael, Drew, Christopher were all on my team.
Mhm.
So it was all the neighborhood kids. And we hated Barney. And we were signed the color purple. And so we're like, we don't like this. We're the Barney Busters.
Wow.
And that was our team name.
Really?
Yeah, and I still have the trophy itself was like this little marble plaque with like a V and a soccer ball on top.
That's really cool. That's hilarious. Okay, let's do, what is your second?
Baseball.
Okay, third?
Actually, wrestling might have been in there. I did gymnastics when I was really little. I did soccer. I think I did gymnastics first.
Uh-huh.
Then I did soccer. Then, and at the same time, because I think it was just spring, so soccer came first and then baseball. Because I definitely got into baseball ASAP. Like I did T-ball and everything way early because it was so much I watched my brother play that during his practices, I would occasionally go out there and hit as well. I definitely did gymnastics first. And then soccer and baseball are so close. They're probably around the same time.
Okay. Nope.
And then wrestling came about after that because wrestling I started, I think, in like 2nd or 3rd grade. And then, yeah.
Okay. Chapter 4. Boom, 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 boom. The taste of defeat. I want to know about your first time that you really cared about winning. Like you really cared. You wanted to win and you lost. The first really bitter defeat. It could be in sport or anything, but something competition based.
The thing that stands out to me is Milford South Elementary School. I was the fastest kid in the school.
That's a bold claim. Everyone knows South was like the fast of the fast.
Yeah. So
like
Kyle Jones challenged me to a race.
Okay.
And he cheated. And he beat me. And I was furious.
All right, look, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here that he did cheat. Did he?
He didn't run all the way. He
Did he
didn't
load up with steroids before he ran out there?
No, he didn't. The rule was we had to run all the way to the basketball hoop and all the way back past the gazebo.
Ah, okay.
He did not run all the way to the basketball hoop. And not only did he not run all the way to the basketball hoop, he pushed somebody in front of me so that I ran into them.
Okay, well, this seems pretty blatant cheating. So, were there any repercussions after this moment?
No, everybody just celebrated him. I had the nickname Wheels at the time that Steve Williams and Andrew Burton gave me in elementary school. And it carried on to like high school. Like Steve would I'd say hi in the hallway and he'd remember the nickname.
That's crazy that middle schoolers how old was this? Middle school?
This was elementary school.
Elementary school kids are giving each other nicknames like Wheels. It just reminds me of Holes, you know? Like clever. This is like the kind of gangs that little kids form and stuff like that. But okay, so if everyone was celebrating, then everyone must have been watching the race, right?
Yeah, but you know, it was far away. Everybody was gathered at the finish line, which was also the starting line.
Okay.
So the incident where it took place, where they cheated, was right by the farthest point, which was the basketball hoop, which was like diagonally across the pavement of Milford South. And so, like, it was so far away that nobody really saw.
Okay.
And I didn't like run into them or trip or fall or anything, but I had to slow down and run around them and then go.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't like we had a clear path or sanctioned anything, so you still had to people dodge. It was just the fact that he forced somebody into my path.
Gotcha.
When I was, so he had stopped early. I ran all the way to the hoop. When I turned around, he pushed the person, and I had to avoid, and then he beat me. And he didn't beat me by much.
Now, just to, you know...
And it still infuriates me. You brought that up, and I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I am so fast. I knew I would.
You were Wheels. You were the fastest in the South.
Yes.
We all know that the more we tap into a memory, the less true it becomes, right? So at this point, it has been many, many years, over 20 years since this occurred, right? Is there a possibility that the facts aren't as you remember? That in actuality, maybe he didn't push anyone, maybe someone just walked in your way?
It's very possible.
Maybe you thought the rule was to touch the hoop and he didn't think you had to touch it or something like that. And maybe that was, like, you didn't remember that rule because you only thought about losing. Things can get distorted. However, also, it could be inherited. Have you ever considered that possibility?
I mean, I haven't recalled that memory a whole bunch. I can remember 5 different times I recall it because the way the brain works is instead of remembering the core memory, you end up remembering the last time you remembered the memory.
Okay, cool. Yes,
that's how it gets distorted.
It's like it's a game of telephone that you're playing with yourself in terms of recollection. Because even like the perspective that you have in your memories can shift. You can actually go out of body in your memories and you see yourself in that. That's how you know you've really gotten far from the truth.
Well, and even in that, like, you can fabricate memories.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. But moving on to chapter 5. Sweet victory! Yeah! I want to know about the first time that you tasted the golden sunshine, the ambrosia of glorious victory, earned or not. You won. Against all odds, you succeeded.
See, this is difficult because I grew up hating defeat so much that that's the one thing that stands out much easier in my mind than any celebratory victory.
Interesting.
So it's really hard for me to think. The greatest thing that I can think of is playing backyard baseball. And this is awful to think about, but it was Michael, his brother, my brother, and people of the neighborhood behind Michael and Matthew's house. And they're 2 years older. Matthew is the same age as my brother, who's 2 years older. And I was up to bat. And, 2 years is significant in development when it comes to your motor skills and your muscles and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I had 2 strikes on me. And so he threw the next pitch a little bit softer. And I absolutely smashed that ball right back into Matthew's face.
No.
Oh,
Broke his nose.
shit.
And it was just one of those things where, like, I felt like I was being taunted, not by Matthew, but by my own brother and some of the other older kids that were there of, like, you can't play with us, you're not good enough. And I just destroyed that ball into his face.
Can I tell you right now, the psychoanalyzers are frantically scribbling right now. First taste of victory was inflicting pain on someone else. Did not even win the game at that moment, but clearly remembers that. I think that is really interesting, that your first victory is not so much winning in a sport by the rules, but overcoming a perception of other people that they had of you, right?
Yeah.
It kind of is symbolic.
Yeah, it was more of the fact that, like, oh, you're not good, oh, this.
Yeah.
And, like, I felt bad that I hurt him, first and foremost, because he was actually being nice and trying to make sure I had an opportunity to be able to hit the ball.
Oh.
It was everybody else that instigated my, like, overcoming of that envision of, like, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different moments about, like, me and my brother in a foot race and stuff like that when I won, but that's probably the most, like, outstanding thing that I can think of where I was like, I am good enough to play with the older kids, kind of thing.
Outstanding move. Yes, that is really, really interesting. Okay, so we need to speed through the next few chapters because we're still bogged down in the early life, and we've only. Time is a-ticking.
Well, when I was a kid, I just want to tell this story because this is, I came out of the womb and my uncles were all like, he's going to be a football player. I had huge
Were your
thighs.
uncles in the room when you came out of the womb?
No, when they first met me.
That story is not true.
No, it's true.
Your uncles were not surrounding you in a semicircle with football pads being like, here he comes.
No, this is
the
true.
Next Tom
This
Brady.
is true because my uncles tell me this every time.
Mm-hmm.
It became a thing that every time I saw my Uncle Tom, he would hold me by my ankles and I would do sit-ups hanging upside down. Straight up. Real story.
Okay. What's Tom's last name?
Scheid?
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. Not Brady?
Yes.
No, okay, all right, okay.
Tom Brady's his uncle.
What?
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 Do?
What did I do?
I have a semicircle of uncles around my own birth, and I don't remember it. It's just like you do.
It wasn't around my birth. It was when I was brought home.
You said they saw you come out the womb with football pads and a football in your hand. It was you came in there, and then the afterbirth was in the shape of a football, and you caught it with one hand.
I Odell Beckham that before Odell Beckham was born.
Odell Beckham was in the wing over from you. How old is Odell Beckham? I don't even know.
Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh,
wide
Beckham
receiver
Jr.
for the Los Angeles Rams this past season.
Why do you
Used
say
to be
that
for
so
New York Giants, by the way.
disappointingly? I wouldn't know it. Why would I know that?
Yeah, he's 29 years old, so he was
Yeah,
born 4
so
years
he's
after
like-
me. Well,
yeah.
actually, he was born 3 years after me. He was born in November.
All right, then. Well, you heard it here first, everybody. Chapter 6.
Whatever number!
Whatever
Number!
Boom, 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 boom. First team sport, where you had to play with
Baseball.
other people.
It's either baseball or soccer. They were around the same time.
Chapter 7. First individual sport.
I never really did individual sports. I guess gymnastics, but we didn't compete, so it was more or less like an exercise thing. It was Queen City Gymnastics that we went to. So first individual is probably just natural foot races, just in the neighborhood or at school.
That makes sense. Chapter 8. The fondest memory you have from your childhood, specifically. Let's say pre-high school in sports. The fondest memory.
It's probably baseball. I mean, my mom kept score on the bench, and my dad was one of the hitting coaches. And my team, I could name like almost every single player on this team, but we just won constantly. We were all on the same page. We were all excited about it. We would have went to the city tournament, but we had multiple people on the team that played soccer as well, and we didn't want to take them away from the soccer team. And that just how good that team was and how much fun we had hanging out with each other. Jonathan Powell, Joseph, Evan Wolf, Jacob Munns, Michael Chaxfield, Adam Bryant, BJ Kreutz, Chris Thatch, like Michael Stevens. It was just an incredible team, and we were very, very good.
That's great. But I will also follow up that with, I'm looking for one moment specifically. I know while you think that, I will tell you a story that is mine. It was the first moment that I was in a group and realized that I might actually be able to have friends and enjoy time socially. But it's funny because I wasn't even involved with this. I don't even think it was sport related. I don't know what it was. I don't know why I was there. It was like many things in my childhood. Things just kind of happened and I was there. And wherever it was, we were all sleeping in a dorm, like a bunk beds, dorm room, like kind of like a dorm situation. I was very young. I don't remember exactly how old, but all I remember was just having fun as a group, because in the middle of the night, after the lights went out, we were all sleeping, or as I assumed, like you go to bed afterwards, you should go to bed. And then I heard some creaking coming out of a bunk bed. Someone was coming down. Someone was tiptoeing around by my bunk. I could hear them circling my bunk, but they weren't coming for me. They were going around to the bunk next to me, and they tapped someone, right? Soft fabric tapping, and someone leans over and goes, "You got the shaving cream." I hear this other voice go, "Yeah, you got the will. Yeah, you got the nerve. Yeah." And then they get up out of bed, and the two of them creep over to one of the bunks where there's snoring coming from. Where I think it's hard to remember what the specifics of it, but my senses were hyper focused, but my eyes were closed. It was dark anyway. I wouldn't have been able to see, so it's I'm really trying to listen to what's happening around me, and then I hear, which is shaving cream being put into a hand, and then just someone slaps someone across the face with shaving cream, just BAM! And you hear, all of a sudden everyone jumps out of their bunks, just "What's happening?" It's just I remember that so specifically. I was no part of it. I was not even part of it, but I remember it so well because it was the moment where I realized that oh, this is what hanging out and goofing off and having fun is, which is something that I had not experienced at some point. At that point in my life, I had not, because for the most part, it was just me and my brother, and the occasional neighborhood kid we'd hang out for a little bit, but it was mostly just me and my brother. I'd never been in a situation where it was a group of people having a good time. I want to know what your story like that is.
I don't know if I have a single one that pops out.
No? What is one? There's moments.
I mean, getting picked first for backyard football numerous times. Starting to feel like all of my positive memories are repressed.
Your positive memories are repressed? That's
sad.
Psychoanalysts, all of them just went,
Huh?
Why?
I vividly remember negative things. I don't really vividly remember positive things.
I vividly remember negative things too. In fact, it's a lot of negative things. But at the same time, there are definitely some nuggets of fun, even if not early childhood, going into high school.
Man, I can't really think of one.
That's crazy.
Not one particular moment. I can think of brief instances of certain ththings that happened, but I can't think of one particular major celebratory thing.
Nothing like my story where it was just a really funny cool moment that happened, even if it wasn't featuring you.
I remember making a great catch, but then it's followed immediately by a negative thing.
Really?
This is probably the coolest thing. This one's not followed by a major one, but this is one that my dad reminds me of that I don't actually vividly remember myself. And I'm playing center field in baseball. And we're playing against Fairfield.
Right.
And they're notoriously another great hitting team. We were known, both of our teams were really good at hitting.
Right.
And I'm playing center field, and I'm fast. I had the nickname Wheels and all that in elementary school. And the ball gets hit over my head with bases loaded.
Ooh.
And I sprint back, I get the ball, and I launch it. Absolutely launch it. Pitcher is Joseph. Joseph catches it from the pitcher's mound. I'm against the fence in the back, which for a kid throwing it that far is a lot.
That's
he catches
pretty
it,
good.
turns and chucks it home to whoever's catching right now, and I think it's Michael.
Okay.
It's either Michael or it was Josh Means, depending on the year. And they get called out because they don't slide. And it was the person who hit the ball who literally would have had a grand slam.
Oh.
And it was the final out of the inning. And the reason why that I was hell yeah, but my arm hurt. and I come back into the bench, and my dad tells me I'm pitching. I literally am like, I don't know if I can.
I don't know
my
if I
arm hurts,
can.
and I have to go pitch. And I went and I pitched. I did not pitch well.
No.
So I went from this really cool moment where I was like, hell yeah, I did that, to, oh,
yeah. Do you think that's like a common theme in your childhood? Like moments of glory are like shadowed by like all of the failures that surround it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think about the water polo state championship. I was the only person that was like unhappy. Like, I was glad we won. Don't get me wrong. I had elation. I celebrated. But once things settled in, my brain was like, I wasn't in the pool when that final whistle blew. I had 2 ejections and I was pulled and sat on the bench as a senior for the final, like half of the final quarter.
Right.
And I was just like, you know, it's the key moment in the game. Why am I not in?
Gotcha.
Right.
And so, like, those subtleties haunt me because it's like, I don't know, it feels like when it comes down to brass tacks, I'm behind the scenes. And it's possibly the reason why, like, I have, like, the same way my brain works is like, if I screw something up and something bad happens after the fact, I domino effect it back to myself.
Gotcha. Interesting. That's fascinating. Not to like be like, wow, that piece of you, but it explains a lot. Because I know you, and I've known you for a very long time, and I've seen elements of this throughout our time knowing each other. And especially in recent years, you know, just getting to know you even more since you came out to LA. It's like, yeah, I definitely see that. Because sometimes it'll be like, yeah, this should be like, great things are happening, great things are always happening, and yet, you know, it does seem like sometimes you dwell only on the shortcomings of yourself, not everyone else around you is like, I could have done better at this. Oh, I could have done better at this. But in all honesty, like, you know, I hope you realize, like, you've accomplished a great deal. You've accomplished a great deal here in LA, you know, with your sports career, given the circumstances that you were in, but even, like, not even looking at that, you did more than most. It's just, like, I hope you're more proud of yourself than you seem to be, as I am.
Well, thank you. This is, like, so daunting to me that I can't even think of, like, I love sport. And I know of numerous moments where I've, like, enjoyed stuff, but I cannot specifically recall, like, a triumph.
Man, I didn't think that they would, like, spill into something like that. I never even realized, because, like, I don't have, like, a sports-related triumph in my life, you know. Maybe that one moment where I caught Michael Jackson in that flag football game, yeah. But that was later in life, but, you know, just, like, didn't grow up in sports. I didn't have a lot of wins either.
I just thought of one.
Okay.
The wink, wink, nod, nod, where I actually made it all the way to the serving square.
Gotcha. Okay.
I do remember that distinctly. But the thing is, it's surrounded by negative, because wink, wink, nod, nod was a signal for people to try and get me out, because I had done something and there was a grudge against me. I don't know what it was or what I had said.
Too good.
When I talked to Dan and Thaxton about it, there was, like, a long time ago, there was something I had done that made them mad.
I wonder what they're doing right now. Like, if you called up one of them and be like, do you remember what wink, wink, nod,
I'm gonna try it.
Because this is a funny thing about stories like this, and everyone listening at home is like, these people that we're talking about are literally people that we both grew up with and that we know. And so it's kind of crazy to, like, have these things. Because why do I remember wink, wink, nod, nod?
Yeah, because it was the Foursquare thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Oh, is he calling?
It's 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, I go to bed at 9:30.
Yeah, but he has kids.
All right.
Please leave your message.
Hey, Michael, Mark and I are sitting here recording the Go My Favorite Sports Team podcast, and Wink Wink Nod Nod came up. Do you remember Wink Wink Nod Nod from middle school when we played Foursquare? It was.
Don't give any more details.
That's all that it is.
Just need to know what that word means to you.
Yeah, what does Wink Wink Nod Nod mean to you?
Yeah, and why did Wink Wink Nod Nod happen? Why do I remember Wink Wink Nod Nod?
Yeah.
Why?
Why do we both remember Wink Wink Nod Nod?
Why do we both
you should
remember
get back to us and let us know.
No, yeah, if you want to.
If you want to.
Yeah, should.
You should.
Would. How are you? Good to hear from you. Been a while. COVID, huh? Oh, yeah. I'll be back soon.
No, but if you remember, we'd love to hear about it and be able to find out why Wink Wink Nod Nod came about and what it means to you. All right, bye.
Why do you leave voicemails so professionally? We're here with the Go My Favorite Sports Team podcast.
Yeah, you pointed this out anytime I hop on the phone as I get this way.
Hi, my name is Tyler Scheid. I'm calling about no, I know. I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
Anyway, where were we? We talked about wink, wink,
Oh,
nod, nod,
then we
and
need
my
nod,
story.
nod, and
Story, yeah.
story.
It was the fact that I came in and immediately wink, wink, nod, nod was signaled. And Dan was in the serving square at the time.
Teppy?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was pretty good at Foursquare.
Yeah.
I think Thaxton was in there, and I don't remember who the third one was. But obviously, we had a line. We usually had a line of 4 or 5 people.
Right.
And I just remember surviving and going, yes! Because I got somebody out.
Yeah.
And Thaxton was in the square next to me, and the next person who got out was Dan. So then Thaxton was serving. I was in the runner-up square, and everybody's targeting me, and I'm just flying all over the square, bouncing the ball. I'm like, I'm not getting out, not today. And Thaxton ends up getting out, and I move into the serving square, and I go, yeah! That's the triumph that I can remember, and I do remember that one.
That's good. That's good.
It was after I discovered what wink, wink, nod, nod was the signal to get me out, and I was just like, I just beat all of you.
I mean, honestly, I don't remember why it was, or if I was part of it, because I wasn't really in that friend group yet. Like you probably had seen me around, or but I didn't have a friend group at the time because I just came into public school. But it was one of those things where I heard it at some point, because I played Foursquare.
Tetherball was right by Foursquare.
Well, I also played Foursquare with you guys at some point, I'm sure, because it's not that big a school. But it's like, I am sure that it was a signal because they all knew you were too good. And if you were allowed to get in the serving square, you would hit it too hard. So in a weird way, it's like, yes, you could look at it in a negative way. But also, you got to admire the fact that everyone had to come up with a signal to try to beat you because you were that good. And to be even remotely on a level playing field with you, with how competitive you were, they had to okay, we gotta get him out. It's like have you seen Survivor?
Yeah.
It's like you vote out the strong one because it's like he's too big of a threat.
For later
That's in a way kind of like a sign of respect to be like, you're too dangerous to keep in here.
But in my head, it was like, my friends don't like me and don't want to play with me.
Which also is not the case. It never is that thing. We all have fears inside of our mind of what people are thinking. It's more in a moment of just like, everyone's like, I want to win. Everyone wants to win.
Everyone wants to
a
win.
moment of
Everyone
glory,
wants to
and it's like, it's not a negative view. It's like, good God, he's too good. Let's all get him out so we can, because it's like, that's what it is in Survivor, because it's like, get the strong one out, and then all of them squabble because they're suddenly like, now we only have we to fight each other, and then we're trying to win. So it's like, yeah, it's never a personal slight, I don't think, because as someone who was on the outskirts who people did not like, especially in that time frame, I can tell you the more painful thing is being ignored. By far, that is the more painful thing. I'm not saying like, oh my, I had a worse time than you. It's just like the opposite of loving something is not hating it because you still have to care about it. It's being indifferent towards something, not caring about it at all. That's truly the opposite of being interested in something. So in a way, me, all I was another body in the line. All I was ever. Tetherball was pretty good at it, but it was just like, for that part of my childhood, I think that, and again, I can't say things about your childhood, but it's just like, I think some of the negatives may not be as bad.
Well, do you remember in college, every time I was able to be at UC for a party and you walked in, I immediately yelled, Mark!
Yeah, that was
every
great.
time.
That was great. That was always great.
No, because it literally, not very often in school itself, but when wrestling and everything else, I've known you for so long that it was just one of those things that when I saw you at those parties or when we did that stuff, I remember you from Thaxton's birthday party when we played Risk and you got really mad.
Yeah, flipped the table. God. I was such an angry kid anyway.
I know why the reason you got mad was me and Bobby teamed up.
Yeah, I know. I know. Very unfair. See, wink, wink, nod, nod. I had Australia cornered, so I think I was too dangerous in that spot. So I was just like, good move. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that how far back we went is. I got to know you pretty frequently during wrestling because between matches was boring. You were waiting for your time to go up and stuff like that, and so we'd sit there and talk. And it'd be me, you, and Zach, and we'd just be sitting there talking. And me and you were in close weight classes, so when we were on the bench during duels, we'd sit next to each other because we always set an order of weight class. And so I had interacted with you, and I don't know if you ever realized this, that I always saw the comedy that you had and enjoyed your company. So then when I saw you when we went to those college parties, it was like, oh my God, Mark's here. I was just excited to see you, because all through high school and all through all these other different times, like, I didn't see you. I was busy with other sports, or you at the time didn't really hang out with a lot of people outside of school. So like seeing you outside of just school was a big deal to me. So that's why, like, when I saw you, it was like, I want to hang out with Mark.
Appreciate that.
And so I honestly think that's why, like, our friendship is the way that it is because of the distinct memories that I have of you before you really saw yourself able to come out of your shell into the limelight that you have.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, it's very kind of you to say, number one. And number two, like, just how meaningful those moments were. Because I remember them, like, in between matches. And it wasn't boring for me. It was very nerve-wracking. I was incredibly nervous before every match. It's just, like, how I was. But to have someone to talk to, because as you know, but not many people at home probably know, I was an extremely, not necessarily shy, but quiet kid. I didn't talk really. I didn't volunteer conversation. I wasn't very confident. I guess shy is a good term for it. But I wanted, like, anyone to talk to. I was desperate for it. And the fact that you, and I do remember Zach also, like, being there and just, like, having conversations, sitting and talking. Like I said, with that moment in the whatever bunkhouse I was in the middle of the night, I wasn't part of it. But to be in the environment where it was occurring, it felt like I was welcome. And it's one of those things where I don't know when or how the moment when I stumbled into this friend group that we just called up, you know, Thaxton and Dan Debbie and all those people in that friend group. I don't know when I stumbled in, but I'm almost positive it must have been you. I'm almost positive it must have been at some point you invited me to something, because how else the hell would I have met them? You know, because I was at the time in band, you know, I was friends with, you know, Drew and Matt. I don't know if you know them very well. Yeah. Drew and Matt and Brandon. And they weren't exactly in that friend group. You know, Matt sometimes fell in, Drew sometimes fell in, but it was like, I think you were the vehicle to that, because Dan played football, you know, Michael, they were very sport-related people.
Michael was soccer.
And you know, that wasn't me. I didn't play sports, but I think it's just because you opened the door for me to actually have a social life. I wouldn't have had any kind of social circle if it wasn't for you. I don't. I can't say that with 100% confidence, but I don't see any other reason how it would have happened. I remember one time very specifically. There's a really formative memory for me. I was walking down the hall to the band room. You remember in junior high, there was that long hallway that led to the band room at the very end. I was on the door on the right. And when I turned the corner to go down that hall, the band that I've always seen, there was football people in big football pads. All of you guys just lining that hallway. And I don't know if you remember this, because why would it have been? And you, like, all of the football team was, like, sitting on the sides, and their legs were sticking out. So it was like walking down a gauntlet of terror, because at the time I was very shy. And I just remember at the very end, you know, it was, like, very awkward. It got real quiet as I walked by, because I had my trumpet, and, you know, I had my, like, dress shirt and tie, because it was, like, some recital or something like that. And I remember, like, you and Dan were at the end, and you guys were like, hey, make way. Come on, watch coming through. And, like, the fucking tiniest thing. It was the tiniest thing. It didn't mean anything to you guys, and I know it didn't, because why would it? It was just like, oh, it's him. Like, let's let him get through. And but it meant the world, like, to be acknowledged, and like someone knew me in that moment, because of just how shy I was. Like, I remember that to this day. And again, it's like these moments that we have. For everyone listening, you don't know the moments that bring such meaning to someone's life in the tiniest ways, because I remember, because I was dressed that way, my pants were very high up, and I think someone at the beginning of the line, I don't remember who,
was mean to you.
They were like, hey, high water pants or some comment like that. I don't even know. I didn't even know what that meant, but I knew I was being made fun of. And so, like, the rest of the walk was really tough, and then at the end it was like suddenly someone knew me, and it was like it turned that bad moment into just like I felt like someone. I felt like my own person, and like people might actually care about me. It was like the first step on the road towards that friend group. And I don't know when exactly. It was in high school, not necessarily junior high, but it was like that moment where I started to actually look at myself as a person that other people like might want to be friends with. So it is something really, really interesting to look back on and see these like negative moments and positive moments, and like dancing around like sun and moon kind of thing, yin and yang. But all in all, I believe in you incredibly. I know what you're capable of. And I know what you have done to get here and the pain that you've gone through. It's one thing that, like, I relate to in a smaller way, but in just way, like, I admire the strength you've had to get to this point. Because people who've been listening to this podcast generally know your story, and obviously we're running out of time for this one to get through. But it's just like, part of the reason why I wanted to make this podcast with you is just because I wanted to hear your stories. Like, not necessarily the stories, but sports around the world, which we will talk about, and we do talk about, and we will joke about, and whatever. But it's just like, the bottom of it, more importantly, is your story.
on my story and our story together, and like figuring out where that dance is there, and like the human connection between all of it. You know, the improv classes that we took, you know, and I know you beat yourself up a lot about improv, but literally the one scene that I remember was us in the background of that change scene. Is the funniest shit. I know you beat yourself up about a lot of things, but just like, man, you've come a long way in terms of like just being your own person, finding your own identity, and this is the one platform that you get to shine. The reason why I'm doing these like possessed by ghosts at the beginning of this is because you actually, I love the look on your face when it's like, I'm ready, bring it on. I actually know what I'm talking about, and I love seeing that. I hate to think that like you don't have too many positive memories from childhood, but it's just like, I want to make more positive memories with you.
And it's not that I don't have positive memories, it's just that for whatever reason I lump them together and the negative ones stand as their own thing, you know, and they blend together. And like, I have those positive memories, and the thing about it to me is like, it wasn't that I loved winning, it's that I hate losing.
Yeah.
And so when I lose, the strong
I'll
emotion
be
that I
right
got
back.
from that was always greater than the celebration of winning, because it was just, I absolutely felt defeated.
Yeah.
And so I think that's more so why that stands out, is just the way my brain works, is I hated losing. And it's not something that my parents instilled in me, that's for darn sure, because they hated the way that I was when I lost, how mad I would get. I would like, Chris Thatch hated that I'd run in front of him and catch the ball because he literally dropped it too many times. That's a true story. But it's one of those things where the stronger emotion in me was the hatred of losing than the celebration of success. And I think that is something that I battle with every single day. Like a big deal why, like, you know, I might have had a great show, but one thing went wrong. And afterwards I was just like, oh, I missed. I'm sorry, guys. I screwed up. It was, I just focus on the stupid small thing instead of perfection. Like even just this Saturday on the show that I was on, it was a very intimate, like role-playing moment where my character was proposing to another character and I screwed up their name.
Oh, it's role play.
I know.
Is it like some elven name? Is it like some horrible like thing? Like
What was the
what was the name?
What was the name? What was the name? What was the name?
character's mother's name?
Okay, what was the name?
What was the name? What was
So
the
I
name?
needed to say Lydia, and I said Lavinia, and they're very close. Like,
Well, that sounds cool.
Well, that's
Lydia in a role
very
playing
close.
Bullshit. Lavinia. Lavinia.
But it was just like immediately, like everybody laughed. They thought it was funny, and they said it was a great job. But it's still like I trying to let go that little thing, and it just stays there.
Yeah, it's like the ability to roll with the punches, you know. It's just like, instead of like getting bogged down in the details. Some people are built in the way that they hate losing or they love winning. I guess I tend towards the loving of winning thing, but I actually think that there's a third category, which is like just loving being in the game.
Yeah,
you know?
and I've gotten to that point in a lot of ways.
And I think that's the balance. It's like you it's not mean you don't hate losing or don't love winning to a huge extent, but you find yourself in the center of the process of like losing is one side, winning is one side, both occur, but the beauty of it is in the moment. And that's why like I really emphasize those moments that are neither winning nor losing. You know, it's just like the moments of art, just like when we were filming in Austin for Space and like the long days and coming home and everyone getting the barbecue out and just like even if the day was a big win or like, I mean, it's not like we had big loss days, but they were tough, you know. There was no winning to be had. It's just like a work day is done, but then coming home and just like everyone gathered around the barbecue, slopping up macaroni salad, you know. That's good times.
Yeah, and we were exhausted, but we were still just like talking and just enjoying each other's company.
Yeah, that's really what makes all the difference in the world. And I think people should remember those moments as they're happening, because they are sometimes few and far between, but when they occur, you know, you really know the people that care about you.
And much like filming, sports can do that for you. So thank you guys. We're running out of time, but thank you for listening to this episode.
Yeah, this is the first part in apparently a multi-part series about the enigma of Tyler's life. We may not get to it immediately after this episode. A lot to get through and a lot of cool stuff to talk about. We do have more primers that we need to do, and we do have more actually current sport things to talk about.
Yes.
But this gives an insight into the world of how sports weaves people together. Even people that don't play sports, like myself, got woven into this tapestry that was united by sports on these tiny moments. The moments are tiny little stitches, a complex fabric of lives, our lives, all of our lives. So thank you. And now your tiniest dish that you're going to help us with is spreading the word about this podcast. It's not just about sports. It's about the human connection between all of us. And right now there is a strong connection, and I am pulsing through the connection to like, favorite, and subscribe. Whatever the YouTube equivalent of that is on whatever podcasting platform that you have, please do so. New episodes every Thursday. If this was your first episode, I hope you enjoyed it. It was a bit more serious, actually, than some. But we have laughs, we have serious discussions. We talk about everything related to sports.
Yeah, and make sure and download episodes. That way you don't have to stream them. So if you're ever in a place where you lose connection, whether it's through mobile or Wi-Fi or anything like that, you can listen to it if you download it onto your device. It doesn't take much space, and that's also a great indicator of success for podcasts, so it helps us a lot.
And we are gunning to be the #1 sports podcast in America and eventually the world. So stay tuned, because you're just starting with us on this journey towards the top. That's the ultimate win, baby. Let's get it. Who is the #1 right now?
#1 right now that I saw, I think, is the Draymond Green show.
We're going to take him down.
We're
take him out.
number 6 at the moment.
Ooh.
Guys, you really let us down. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Wow, we have a lot to talk about. Like a lot, okay? So let's try to go through this quickly, because it's already an hour and 5 minutes, okay? Okay. I wrote some things down. Ignore this half. This was from Wednesday, okay? Okay, so here's the thing. I have, learning disabilities, right? And so when I get talked, so there's these things called, if you don't know, IEP. I can't remember what it means, right? But it basically means, if you have a learning disability, like dyslexia or something common like that, you need an IEP, which is something that tells the school that these are certain things that this child needs in order to survive school, right? And IEP meetings are okay, let's talk with the teacher, the student, and the parent to see if these certain requirements are being met and how they're doing in class in general, right? So, I am terribly shy. I was terribly shy from moment of birth to even now. I'm still terribly shy and an introvert. So, whenever I go in, it was mostly in high school. I noticed, it was a little bit in middle school, but it was mostly in high school that I noticed that I did this. Whenever I stepped foot in an IEP meeting, even before I knew when I had to go to an IEP meeting, because it was either during lunch or it was during after school times, right? So whenever I go to these IEP meetings, I know the day we're supposed to go, because my case manager is the person who looks over my IEP and stuff and make sure it's I'm on track and stuff like that. She tells me that, okay, you have an IEP meeting on Thursday, so be prepared for that. And then up until Thursday, I'm tapping my finger on the, yeah, that's me. And I'm nervous because I know myself way too well. When people say something negative, I start to cry. And that's normal. If someone says something negative to you, you feel bad, right? You want to cry too. But for some odd reason, if someone gives me a compliment, if someone tells me I'm doing good in a subject, when I know myself I am not doing well at all, as just a person that I know myself that I'm not doing well at this subject at all, I also start to cry. And it's embarrassing, because I am not only crying in front of my mother, I'm also crying in front of my teachers and my case manager, right? Who at the time was also one of my teachers. So I try to make myself not cry. And it's basically a try not to cry challenge in real life. And it's so fucking hard for me. whenever I want to talk to myself, like, I can talk to you guys, right? I can talk to you guys, and it's fine. If I talk to my sisters or my mom, kind of, I'm fine. That's a kind of, right? Like, I can tell them good things or bad things that's happening, and I can kind of handle it, right? I'm getting to a point where now I can completely handle it, but back then I could kind of handle it. That's why probably the whole coming out to as trans was so hard for me, because I was that mindset of they're gonna hate you and stuff like that. But anyway, not about that, but like just that mindset of like, I am a terrible human being, I do not deserve any of these rewards, just crumbles in my brain. Like, I don't know, but yeah, that's, I don't like talking about myself of my, like, my hands are shaking. Like, when it comes to my disability, I don't talk about it that much because I don't see people talking about disabilities as like a good thing until recently, right? Like, having a disability doesn't mean you're a bad person or something's wrong with you. It's just that it's a part of you, right? And having a disability in here really struggled with me throughout my whole life, and only like now realizing that I don't have to do that. You know, if you have a learning disability, no matter what it is, it's fine. You're fine. You're not crazy. You don't need to go to a mental asylum, because that's what I feel like whenever I like math. Here's a good example. Math. I had the same math teacher 3 years straight, right? Mr. Goodrich. Bless him. I wonder what he's doing now, but I miss the guy. I miss the guy because there's like two math teachers that stuck out to me. Miss Burke from middle school and Mr. Goodrich, David Goodrich. I can't remember Miss Burke's first name, but David Goodrich and Miss Burke are the two math teachers that really pushed me and didn't care if I cried in the meeting or not, because I'm gonna cry again, fuck. I gotta get through all this stuff that I want to talk about, fuck. But whenever whenever we were talking about math and Mr. Goodrich said something good about me, it's making me feel like this. Like, I don't deserve, because I'm bad at math. I'm terrible at math. But like, when he says I'm getting better, I feel like I'm not. I really am not. I don't know why you're saying these good things about me when I'm really not. I may be on paper, but in here it's just like, no. So like, talking about myself like that, just like, oh, I don't know. But anyway, that was a whole rant. Parent sports, okay? Whew. Okay, I didn't think that was gonna get me so upset, but I did. Whew. Okay, so I talked about how my dad played baseball. My uncle also played baseball. I don't know if my aunt played volleyball or not. I can't remember. I gotta ask my dad. But I do know that my dad and my uncle Fred definitely played baseball, because they talk about it all the time, and like that's how like my cousin Gio got raised, like playing baseball, which I say lucky to, you know. But yeah, and like the reason my dad doesn't play baseball anymore is because he has injuries. Like, one time a ball hit him in the eye. He has like gout on his knee and his elbow, and just like a messed up finger for throwing something really hard, and just, it was like a whole thing. Okay, that's what and I don't know if my mom played any sports. I know she was more of a academic person instead of an athlete, so she got all like the AP stuff and stuff like that. Okay, so my out of the 5 uncles I have, the most active, like physically active, this is physically active, okay, is my Uncle John and my Uncle Fred, right? My Uncle John is, like, from what I know and what I remember, is like, he is a bulky guy. Now, if you don't know, my Uncle John is my mom's brother, right? So my Uncle John, he's a bulky guy, and remember when I said in the whirlpool thing, like on Wednesday, on I think Monday, he's a bulky guy. So not only can he whirlpool me, but when I was like 12, maybe 13 years old, he could pick me up on his shoulders. And I was a heavy kid. I was a heavy kid back then, and he picked me up on his shoulders, and I wasn't expecting that, so I cried like a little bitch. I cried like a little baby because I never get picked up. I never get picked up. Ever since I was little, I never get picked up by an adult before, because that experience just left. Ever since I got too heavy to be literally picked up for something, it was just like no one like ever touched me to pick me up or something, because I could either climb myself or I could stand and sit in whatever the circumstances was. So like my Uncle John picking me up in like those instances like freaked me out, and I would start to cry and like say, no, put me down, because I wasn't expecting that, right? And then there's my Uncle Fred. Like I said, he played baseball, and he teaches my cousin Gio how to play baseball. So he's still physically he's old, but he's still physical in the sense. So yeah. Okay, a good sports memory. So when I was in softball, there was one, I don't know if I told this already. If I did, excuse me, I don't remember everything that I say. There was one moment where I was it in the middle of the year, or was it like more towards the beginning? I think it was more towards the beginning. It was a home game, and I hit a double. I never hit a double, like ever. That was like my first double ever. And I was like so proud of myself, like, holy shit, I hit a double. Because I usually hit singles or foul balls, because I am not a good hitter. I am not used to hitting, because I'm always like a thrower. I'm never a hitter. I'm a good thrower. I'm not a good hitter. Because I was unlike my cousin Gio, who was like from childhood to now, was he like sports, baseball, I was like, okay, we can play catch with Dad, but that's literally it. That's the basis of what you're gonna learn. I didn't really get to get a tee, and whenever I played like t-ball or whatever, when I was a kindergartner or whatever, I would miss all the time. I remember that. But like me hitting, it was always either strikes, balls, because when I hit, I have a swing, okay? When contact hits, it goes. But it's the contact part that I have trouble with. I can't make it where I either hit it and it doesn't go foul, or hit it and it goes to a single or a double. The double was my high score of hitting. And I was like so proud of myself. I think I have one of the teammates, I can't remember her name, but she was so nice to me. She knew that I had some disabilities, and she would help me like keep going, because we would repeat just keep swimming in my head, and I would like do it in my head, like when I was up to bat, I'd like just keep swimming, just keep swimming, because I always get like nervous when I get up to bat, because I didn't get up to bat at all. Like even if I did it barely, but I never had like really problem with that. But negative thing. What negative thing? I really should be more explicit for what I write. I think the negative thing was like the learning disability, so we covered that. My earliest sport memory. My earliest sport memory. Nothing that I played, but I remember going to Yankee Stadium, not the new one. No, it was the new one. It was, because the Yankee Stadium, the old one, like, I think, because I don't know the history of the Yankee Stadium, but I think I went to the Yankee Stadium that's on my wall. I think so. Because it was like the Yankees versus somebody. I think I was maybe like 5. And it was like my first like ever Yankee game. From what I can remember, because the person who took me to that Yankee game was my mom, and I think my Uncle John, if I can remember correctly. We went to the Yankee game, and I think the Yankees lost, but, like, I still had, like, a blast. But, like, I think that's, like, my first, like, ever, like, thing I can actually remember, you know? Because I grew up watching baseball. Either it was Yankees or the A's or the Giants. Like, I grew up watching baseball. I know how to watch baseball, right? But I don't know how to play it. That's the thing. Okay, so kickball. So you know I said when I make contact with the bat I can go far, and now I said I can throw pretty far? Because I have the powers in here, right? The powers in my arm, but not only my arm, but my leg, right? So here's the thing. I can kick so far. Whenever it's my time to kick, like, it's the same thing. When I make contact, it's either foul or it goes flying, right? So yeah, that's the thing. But here's the kickball theory. It wasn't like the farthest I kicked. It was actually the fastest I caught and threw at another person. Okay, I remember. It was 5th grade. I think his name was Lucas. Yeah, he was a white kid with long blonde hair. Yeah. So Lucas was up a pitch. I was pitching because I was like basically like the pitcher of the team. So I pitched was I pitching the ball or was the teacher pitching the ball? It's either me pitching the ball or the teacher pitching the ball, but I was somewhere in field between I think the teacher was pitching the ball. The teacher was pitching the ball, and I was literally shortstop for the softball team. Oh, for the kickball team. So he kicks it. The ball comes to me, and I throw it to first, who tags him out. That was the biggest kickball victory ever because it was the third, and it was like the last out, and it was like we were up by 1 point, and if I caught this and got him out, we won, which happened. I caught it, I threw it at him, and we won. And everyone was cheering for me because I made that play. And I was like, acknowledgement, what the fuck is this? Like, I never get acknowledged for doing something good. I never do something good. What is this feeling? Like, I never got that. And it was like the most exhilarating thing in my whole entire life. Like, hands down. But, like, yeah, that's all I wrote. Another negative thing was, it may have been the disability thing, but I think that was it. But yeah, that's all my stories that I have. I'll maybe ask Mom if she did any sports, but I don't think she did. I think she was only like I said, an academic. I don't think she was like a sports person ever. I think I know Uncle Marcus did skateboarding, and that's about it. But he didn't go through it because I think he taught me how to skateboard, but I forgot. So yeah. And then my Uncle Joe, we wrestled. I said that. I think I said that. So yeah. Anyway, this has been M.A.D.D.Y. I don't know, but that was a really good episode of learning more about Tyler and Mark's friendship and just how they appreciate each other. It was really nice. Anyway, peace.